What's up, mortgage coach community? I am sitting down with Jeremy Forcier. It is, what is today? The 14th, June 14th, 2022, and it is hairy out there. I think that's all the better for mortgage professionals that have a great attitude, that are smart with their words, and they see chaos as opportunity. We have themed this conversation as there's never been a better, or no, never let a good crisis go to waste. So who better than Jeremy Forcier? What's up, brother?
Crisis captain here. How may I serve you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So what's it like out there? You know, as one originator and two a leader of mortgage professionals.
It's stressful, but it's awesome. So, and I really mean that. It's just like being in the gym. You can put a bunch of stress on your body and then you get great results. So that's the way that I see it right now. I'm not worried. I don't have fear. I don't think any of us should have any type of trembling fear. We're allowed to feel fear for a moment, but leaders don't, and we're all leaders, by the way. Leaders don't have bad days. We're allowed to have bad moments. So when I look up at the charts or the wicks, I'm like, oh, that's a bad moment, move on. Like, it doesn't matter. What can I do? What can I control? I will tell you that activity trumps all. Our activity is down everywhere. It's just a fact. It's just the way it is. So when market activity is down, I know that my activity and my output has to go up, right? It has to go up like 2x. And we're seeing results from that still. I mean, 3 new contracts yesterday, regardless of what the market is. I don't know if the rate's 7 or if it's 5.5. I have no idea, but the market's going to do what it's going to do. And I love a good crisis, because when everyone else is scared, you know, that's when we can be a blanket of comfort with great advice, and we can really shine.
So guys, what we're going to do is you have to have the right mind, or the weapons that you have and the tools that you have are worthless. But the thing that's different about this market is, as a mortgage professional and real estate professionals, you have better weapons than you've ever had. You have better technology. You have night vision goggles. You've got superpowers that they don't have. So I'm gonna play the micro presentation from the Modern Mortgage Summit. It's just a warm up, just to see how far we've come in as an industry. You know, this isn't like when I started the business in the 80s, when a yellow sheet of paper and a pen was the only tool you had to present. So let's just listen to this, and then we're going to get into strategies, mindset, tactics, technology, all that stuff. So let's rock that out. Jeremy, I'm going to share this micro presentation, and then I'm going to get your thoughts on it. And we've got 3 chapters to our conversation today, so stay tuned, everybody. When I did my first loan in August of 1986, the rates were at 10.26 with over 2 points. And technology back in 1986 looked like this. This is how I presented options. This is how I had pre-qualified someone. It was with a yellow sheet of paper and an HP 12C. A couple years later, in 1989, when LOS came out, and we actually had a fee worksheet. No longer did we need to type out a 1003. No longer did I need to do a handwritten 1003. We could use an LOS, and it delivered. Here's your rate, here's your payment, here's your cash to close. Guys, that was an innovation. The deal is, though, that's how most loan officers are still delivering rates and fees to a consumer. Then the fax machine came, and this was a massive innovation. Prior to the fax machine, I felt like, as a loan officer, my job was a messenger. Even how loans were priced, this was an innovation, because now rates and fees could come through on a fax machine, and lenders could get prices faster, and loan officers could find more options to families. I'm going to skip forward many years, because this is when the whole industry changed, and this is when the world changed. I don't think anybody realized, when Steve Jobs held up a smartphone, an iPhone, in 2007, just how much it would change the world as a consumer, and just how much it would change the mortgage industry and the real estate industry. But this was the beginning of the digital age shift. And when we talk about what is the digital age shift, it's just this. Prior to the smartphone, a family could not find a home without the help of a realtor and the MLS. However, in today's world, the mobile phone is not just a way to find a home. it is home entertainment. Using platforms like Zillow, like Redfin, and hundreds of other platforms to have all the power to find homes, to apply for mortgages with a phone. This is the definition of the digital age shift. Then in 2016, during a Super Bowl ad, Quicken Mortgage, now called Rocket Mortgage, launched a rocket that told American consumers that applying for a home loan was as simple as pulling out your mobile phone, putting in the information, and you're approved. Since the rocket launched, for every mortgage professional in America, your primary source of referrals has more competition. This is what the competitive battlefield looks like for a real estate agent. There's a lot of channels of competition, and there's more competition than ever. And the real estate industry is changing, possibly even disrupting. So it's never been more important for real estate agents to leverage technology to deliver a modern consumer experience. And it's never been more important for lenders to deliver a modern mortgage experience. Just a few years ago, this is what the battlefield looked like from a competitive landscape for lenders. It's 2022. This is what the battlefield looks like. A digital mortgage and real estate experience for families looking to buy homes, refinance, optimize their equity, optimize their debts, make sure they're building wealth with real estate. There's never been more competition. There's never been more options. This is what most lenders and realtors database looks like. You don't know what the needs are of that consumer, and you don't know how likely they are to want to buy a new home or refinance their home. This is what the database looks like of Zillow, of Rocket, of Amazon. They know who is most likely to want to move up, move down, refinance. They have this information. So here's the decision that every mortgage and real estate agent needs to think about is, who do I want to be in this digital shift era? Do I want to be that innovator? Do I want to be that early adopter that gains market share, that is winning in this digital age shift? Or do I want to wait until I'm losing market share, I'm losing business, I'm losing clients, and I'm a laggard? This is what the database could look like for mortgage professionals in today's market. This is what it needs to look like for you. Every mortgage professional in America needs to be able to understand what their consumers are doing, and they need to be able to deliver a presentation automatically, anticipate the needs of the consumer, and then deliver the consumer the advice and information to help them make an informed decision. We are dedicated to helping you be a modern mortgage and real estate professional in this digital age shift. Are you? What do you think, Jay? You like
Dude,
that?
I love that. I'm gonna watch it 5,200 times. Like, it's so great, man. I don't want to be the guy with the question marks on his head. Like, I want to be the guy that knows it's a 68 LTV. There's a credit event. There's a life event. There's equity in the home. Like, I want to be that guy.
And I would just push everyone, in watching this right now, that there is a 10%er in all the efficiencies of a mortgage. And the industry obsesses over how many loans did I close, over what my production is. And guys, we should. That is how we get paid. But it is a lagging indicator. What I would push every originator to watch this right now, if you want to turn a crisis into an opportunity, is, how do you rate with conversion? Are you in the top 10% within the branch, the region, the company? How do you rate from a profit standpoint? Every time that you have to give a price exception and it costs basis points for the company, guys, that's like a hit against your selling skills. Like, the best loan officers have the best conversion and they have the best profitability. You know why? Because they deliver the most value. And so I want to, as we turn this crisis into opportunity, it is the opportunity to work on the things that matter most. And the things that matter most are your conversion, how many phone calls you're making and prospecting, and how profitable you are. Because if you're not, then you're not delivering a great experience. You're not turning this crisis into an opportunity. Jeremy, you lead, you coach. And you align with that. There is a 10%. And sometimes there's top producers that really have sloppy results, but but in this market, you can't get away with that.
Yeah. Usually when you're a top producer and you have good results, but you're really sloppy, it's 100% market driven, in my opinion. Meaning that it's just easier, refinance market in particular, right? I find that those that are really the 10%ers of conversion, they are learning every day, they're practicing, they're honing their craft, and they're really leveraging technology and video to communicate with their clients and create a really great, unique experience. So that's where I see, my conversion is very high from a peer standpoint, and from what I weigh it against with the loan officers that work with me. Same goes with the concession from a profitability standpoint. I think we all need to understand that we all think, oh, it's just a 30 basis point concession, right? But when we're talking about doing $1 billion in loans, that is a lot of money, and it could wipe out all profits, especially in a contracting market. So it's really important that we lead by example first, that we lead the customers with great advice and an overwhelmingly clear experience that you're the choice, you're the professional they should use, and that will always lead to higher profitable loans.
So let's do this conversation in a couple chapters. So everyone watch this right now. If you have questions or you have recommendations, like you're like, hey, I got some ideas. So chapter 1 is, if you can win with rate shoppers, you can win with everyone. Let's go through some of the keys and the best practices. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. I mean, 2 things I know for sure: asking great questions and listening is a cornerstone to winning with rate shoppers, and also being consistent with the TCA with every client. Those are standards that we advocate, we've talked about. So Jeremy, let's just go through like a checklist of all the things that a loan officer should do. And if you want to throw in a script, whatever you want to share, so that everyone that's in the room right now, everyone that's watching this, they have a checklist from Jeremy Forcier. How am I gonna win with everyone in this market?
Awesome. So I think first and foremost, you really need to understand what the person's need is and find what the challenge is for them. Like, what's the person's need, and then what is the challenge? If you can't uncover what a challenge is, especially one that they're not aware of, then it's going to be a lot harder to convert that person and separate yourself from everyone else. So we need to find a need. Hey, I want to buy a house. We need to find a challenge. Hey, I found a house that's on the market and I want to buy it right now, and I don't want to sell my house first. That's a challenge. How do we overcome it? Well, there's all different types of portfolio products, and educating people. I did this yesterday with a highly qualified person, if they were to sell their house, right? And making them understand that there are going to be different products that are available to you that may not seem as attractive. And rather than beating around the bush, going straight to it. So I want everyone that's listening to this, write that down. Sprint towards the challenge. Don't avoid it. Like, sprint directly into the challenge. So I'll give you an example. So Dave, you're asking me, hey, I really want to buy, I found this house, I really want to buy it. Someone mentioned a bridge loan. I don't even know what that is, and I don't want to pay a bunch of fees. This was the conversation yesterday, right? And and you just need to sprint straight towards it and go, yeah, there's no problem. There's going to be plenty of options for you to borrow at about 9% interest rate if you really want that. I don't want that, but I found the challenge, right? I just went really high. I didn't even know anything about the situation. But sprinting towards the challenge and challenging the other individual with, you have a solution no matter what, and then backtracking, but hey, that's a worst case scenario. I don't know anything about your situation. Let's unpackage it a little bit, right? How much is your current mortgage? How much do you currently make on an annual basis? If we can qualify you carrying both, we can eliminate that worst case scenario, but I'd love to talk about the worst case scenario first, so that you have an option no matter what. That creates a different dynamic in the conversation, right? You're going to get a lot better answers, and you're going to get someone's attention. And it's, Dave, I think you can agree with me. And if you don't, that's great too, is that getting people's attention quickly is hard sometimes, but it's absolutely necessary. to get someone's attention quickly, to listen to you so that you can actually present them with some great advice and great options. If we don't do that, I think we lose them in the blink of the eye, because just as your presentation, I love that video so much. Everyone can just do this, you guys, on their computers, on their tablets. They can thumb it on their phones. They can get information faster than ever. So you need to be the person that's going to grab their attention quickest, so that you're going to have the most chances and most at bats at creating some opportunities for yourself.
Hey, you know, that what you just said made me think of it was one of Hunter Marquardt's Sunday Thoughts recently, where he talked about what's the difference between the cow and the buffalo. And just real quick, everyone, when a big storm comes, the cow doesn't move, doesn't have any intention around what they do, and there's more dead cows after big storms in Yellowstone Park than buffaloes, because in Yellowstone Park, when a storm comes, the buffalo runs towards the storm. So just as a metaphor to help everybody, you know, this is a storm, and the buffalo is going to win. You know, run towards the storm, get through it. I love what you said, and I added it to the playbook. What is the client's need and challenge for everyone? Run towards the challenge. And then also something you said that the way at least I wrote it down is you need to be able to uniquely solve the challenge, and you need to be able to uniquely bring clarity to the consumer. And guys, I interviewed Jay Kroll a couple of days ago. We were having a conversation. He's a top producer, closed 291 million last year in Seattle, gives every family a total cost analysis. And he said, Dave, the one thing I'm talking to my loan officers right now about, because I want them all using a TCA, I want them all doing the right things, is put yourself in the shoes of a consumer. If a consumer is ever surprised or upset about the rate that they get from you, what do? They shop you.
Yep.
And guys, what percentage of consumers, when they hear what rates are today, are either surprised or upset about it? 110% of consumers. A year ago, when a consumer heard an interest rate, they're like, yeah. I mean, it was anywhere from hell yeah to yeah. And guys, that's not the market. Every consumer is hearing, oh shit. And so we've got to be empathetic to where the consumers are in this market. They all have challenges. They all are surprised. And if you are not just assuming that, and if you're not taking it personally, here's the deal, guys. There's going to be loan officers that kill it. They define themselves in this market. They recruit more realtors. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. We're going to talk about how to flip the script with agents, because this is a market. Every single agent's borrowers, they're not happy with their rate. So there's no happy people out there right now. So Jeremy, what's something else that we could put in the playbook that that will help win with rate shoppers?
Yeah, I think that first of all, I don't want to say it's the only thing, but the biggest item on my checklist, like hands down, it was in your slide, is that you have to show them a total cost analysis, period. And you have to show them options, and you have to show them that rates can go higher than whatever they are right now. We have to show that. So I don't mean this in a negative way. So I want to make sure I say that first. And I don't mean this in a way of manipulation, but the strongest emotion that people feel is fear. Okay, fear is the strongest emotion that people feel, me included. It's the overwhelming strongest emotion that any of us can feel, is the feel of fear. And so if we know everyone's fearful already, like, we need to make sure that we don't create a false sense of hope, but that we also maybe create that, hey, it could get worse, right? And I don't, like, once again, I don't mean that in a negative way or manipulative way, but it is important, I think, when people are having a hard time making a decision, should I lock the loan? Should I not lock the loan? Like, I'm in contract. Do I really want to move forward now? Is that we have to show them what could be, because the reality is, no matter what I think may happen, I don't know what will happen. And so I think we have to use that to our advantage right now in this marketplace, is to be honest and also show that, hey, it could get worse. Like, I thought when rates hit 5.5%, that was it. That was my opinion. I was wrong. Okay, like it's a lot higher than I thought it was going to be. You know, over 6% right now. So I think that that is extremely important to realize that if someone's fearful, you need to make sure that you show them good options and that what could happen both on the positive side, but the negative side as well, because those working together are going to create clarity for someone, right? Those things working together can show people that, hey, it's fine if you want to wait, right? But if the rate is 7% or 6.5%, which who knows what it is today, I have no idea, that is a real possibility. And I think showing that in a total cost analysis is really important. So I'm showing people, and I have plenty of examples, you know, even yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, let's get ready to show one. Finish your sentence. I'm going to show a few things on my screen that I have updated, but get ready to share one and then let me share a few thoughts before you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm all set whenever you want me to share one, but even yesterday, so I'm going to show you one from yesterday in the middle of the insanity, right? That I created. And I was like, whoa, okay, well, let's show them what a 0.5% higher is then. Like what it could go, hey, it just went up 0.5% in a day and a half. Let's take a look at what if it goes up another 0.5%, you know? And so, and not being afraid of showing that information is really, really, really powerful.
So guys, let's review. And Jeremy just said it within a minute, get ready to show it. If consumer is surprised or upset with rates, they're going to shop you. And here are the strategies to win with rate shoppers. Ask great questions, find out what the client's needs and challenges are, run towards the challenge. That is where you can really crush it. Uniquely solve challenges, uniquely bring clarity, and you have to deliver a total cost analysis to every consumer every time. So Jeremy, let's walk people through one or two TCAs. Let's try to do that in the next, I don't know, 6-7 minutes. Yep. And then guys, we're gonna talk about how to recruit realtors in this market. So, and if you have questions, comments, suggestions, put them in chat, whether you're watching this in YouTube, whether you're watching this in our Facebook group, put all your questions and suggestions down below.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, Dave. There we go. So this is a real scenario from yesterday. Okay. So yesterday, I don't know if you guys experienced this, but I didn't really know where to quote, so I couldn't tell what was just like, hey, don't lock today. And we're just going to take a pause and we're going to, you know, tomorrow we'll take a look at where we settle in versus this is what the interest rate is today. So what I did is went ahead and showed both. This is a real client, by the way, not even in contract yet. So what Dave was saying about if someone is surprised, right, they're going to shop you. This is someone who's not in contract yet. So the likelihood of someone shopping you, by the way, prior to contract is way higher. That's where the biggest loss happens, quite frankly. Number one loss of consumer in your database and your clients and your prospects, we all think it's when they get into contract. That is not true. It is usually at the beginning. They're definitely going to shop you when they get into contract if you haven't delivered something like this. If you haven't delivered an experience, if you haven't showed them multiple options prior to them getting into contract, yeah, they don't even have any trust and they have no idea what your ideology is and how you work and the options and educational component just doesn't exist. So in this scenario, this person wants to stay at a $500,000 purchase price. They're well qualified, by the way. So they could go higher, but they don't want to. They want to keep their payments where they want to keep their payments. So rather than going to, here's what today's rate is, right? I showed them 4 separate columns. And in the first, and there's a video, of course, attached to this, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, okay? And as you can see in this, I showed them, hey, if your rate when you go into contract is a 0.5% lower than what it is right now in this moment, we would be looking at 5.5%. And the reason I want to show you a wide rate range is that we don't know where interest rates are going to go. They could keep going up. They could also come down. But you are so well qualified. I want to show you how it impacts your monthly payment so that you know it's not going to make a big difference regardless of when you buy. And then I'll get into the 4th column as well. That's how I start the video. That's how I start the conversation so that they know what they're looking at. Now, Dave, do you think that that is more impactful rather than even having this, if I did this and just said, hey, I want to walk you through 3 scenarios? No, you want to set the stage first, frame it, right? Frame it. I'm showing you a wide range of interest rates here. So you can see how interest rate movement up and down impacts your monthly payment, doesn't make that big of a difference. So you can be prepared and ready from a budgetary standpoint. You have to frame it and set the stage first. Okay, so I showed them 5.5% what their payment would be. Hey, if you get into contract and the rate happens to be 6%, here's what the payment would be. Hey, if you get into contract and rates continue to go up and we're at 6.5%, here's what the payment would be. Now, I also wanted to show you in the 4th column, notice it says future. Now, we don't know where interest rates are going to go, but for sure they are going to go down significantly from the levels that they're at right here. So I wanted to show you that if rates go back down in the next 12 to 18 months or 24 months or whenever it may be, and we hit 3.99%, your payment is going to drop dramatically, right, to 28.26, assuming a 3.99% rate. So remember, right now, this is what the video sounds like, by the way. Right now, you have the best buying opportunity because the competition, 75% of people are sitting on the sidelines. And that's not a made up number. That is a number that is true and correct based upon what I'm experiencing with the interaction with my clients. And I don't think it's right. I think it's wrong. But we have 7 out of 10 people saying, you know what, I want to see how this plays out, right? That means you are competing with that many less people right now, and you can get the house that you want much easier. And you can always take a look at lowering your payment in the future. What you can't do is look at buying that same house that you really like and want in the future, because we don't know if it's going to be available to you or not. So Dave, that's how I'm presenting information right now. That's how I'm framing it with people, showing them a wide interest rate of options. I'm saying it could go up, it could go down. Let's focus on the payment budget so that you're not, secret word, Dave already used it, so that you're not surprised, right? Regardless of what happens in the market.
So great scripting, great talk track. Go ahead and stop sharing your screen, Jeremy. And I want to ask everyone, put yourself in the position of a consumer. Everyone's surprised by how much rates have gone up. And if you were a consumer, do you want to get a rate quote saying, hey, this is what rates are, these are what your fees are, this is what your monthly payment? Or do you want Jeremy Forcier options where this is where they're at, this is where they could be, this is where they could be next year or at some point in the future? Do you want that kind of vision casting, or do you want a fee worksheet? And then let me ask you this, guys. If you were a real estate agent who, when you saw that video opening things up, they are getting disrupted. What it is to be a realtor is changing. And then on top of that, there's a massive shift in the marketplace. And no, their sellers are not happy that their home hasn't sold, like everybody who sold one last year and a couple months ago. They're not happy that they might have to be having a conversation about a price reduction. That's like, and by the way, realtors haven't had to have the price reduction conversation in 3 years. So not only has it been the worst conversation for a listing agent to ever have with a seller, but they have, they got marbles in their mouth. They haven't had to have that conversation in 3 to 4 years. And now it's like every listing is tough conversation. So who do they want to work with? Do they want to work with a average, regular loan officer that can close loans on time? Or do they want to talk to a mortgage strategist, a mortgage coach that can show a family options, future cast, make them feel good about a market a year from now, 2 years from now? I know my answer. They want Jeremy Forcier. They want someone that can have the conversation like Jeremy. So Jeremy, before we flip the script and go into, that is kind of a flip of the script with realtors. But before we just focus on that chapter, anything else you want to say?
Yeah, the one other thing that I would say as well is that I think that it's also really, really important right now to tell people that aren't in a position to buy to not buy. And I can explain more, of course, is that I said at the beginning of the conversation, Dave, like, let's talk about fear and how you can use it to your advantage. But you can't be manipulative with it. Okay. It can't be a manipulation. So when I see someone that's really afraid, but they're trying to make it happen no matter what, I usually call those people out, right? With like, hey, you maybe shouldn't do this. You have $11,000 saved total. You have $29,000 in debt, and you have a 54.9% debt to income ratio. That sounds like maybe we should work on getting your financial house in order a little bit over the next 6 to 12 months so that you can make a great decision and not a purely fear-based decision right now. So you have to understand that you can use fear to your advantage when someone is basically having a blind spot of a good opportunity, but you can't use fear as an advantage to people that are easily taken advantage of, okay? Because they feel like this is the only time they're going to be able to do something. And you have to be able to look at their overall scenario and say like, hey, I don't know if this is a good decision for you to make. Like if you lose your job, okay, so 16% of people that were surveyed last week said that they feel like their job is in jeopardy. Okay, 16%, it's a pretty high number. All right. So if you feel that your job, if you lost your job, right, how would you make your mortgage payment until you can find another job? We need to create some reserves. Having those type of conversations, I think, are hard for us when business is down sometimes and we feel like we want to get every single loan and put it in and do everything that we can. But those type of conversations truly will create a client for life, and they will appreciate it because you're also in charge of protecting people from making good decisions. So just know that.
Love it, brother. So we're trying to give you guys some tactics, strategies. I want to remind everybody there is a Jeremy Forcier playlist in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. Check it out. Also, someone that Jeremy has coached in the past, Gina Myers, who went from, I mean, she's always been a top producer, but she had, a monster year last year, like many people, but she started using Mortgage Coach. And she went from, I'm new at using Mortgage Coach, to a grandmaster and did over 1,000 TCAs last year. And she is the biggest creator of TCAs across country, Jeremy. Her and her team are actually creating more TCAs than you. So make sure you check out How to Win with Rate Shoppers with Gina. Also, Jeremy and I interviewed Gavin 2 weeks ago, and this was just an incredible conversation. So I just want to give anyone that wants to go a little deeper than today's conversation, want to give you some resources. So let's focus for the rest of this conversation, for the most part, on flipping the script with realtors by making your past customer database your number one priority, and by improving your pre-qual conversation. Like, I think you can flip the script with what Jeremy showed you. I want to remind everybody that you can't have a database that looks like this. This is what all your realtors database looks like. Guys, this is what Zillow and Rocket's database looks like. And every mortgage professional in America now can have borrower intelligence. We're rolling out the individual user version of Sales Boomerang for individual loan officers. So if you have less than 5,000 records, I'll put a sign up form down below. It's not out yet, but we're going to roll out the beta sometime soon. But for all the enterprise clients, if your company has Sales Boomerang, not only will you have this borrower intelligence, but it will automatically create a total cost analysis. So if someone has a lot of equity, like a cash out buyer, you could actually have the move up or the move down analysis created, or you could automatically have a cash out TCA created. So Jeremy, let's just talk about high level. How are you using borrower intelligence? Because you're getting alerts in your database. You and I did a whole call on all of your scripts, and you've got this digital presentations with Mortgage Coach. How are you using that to recruit agents and win market share with agents in this market?
Yeah, so I love triggers. I love trigger alerts. When I first started, diving into it, I felt like it was annoying because it's new. So everything that's new is always going to feel annoying, just so you guys know. But we need to embrace new. Dave challenges me on this all the time. We have to embrace new so that we can grow and move forward. So I love trigger alerts, and how I'm flipping the script with my agents is that when a trigger event happens, so I see someone that has a credit inquiry, right? So it comes over to me as like, your past customer may be in the market like for a mortgage. I go ahead and call those people every single time. And then I always include the real estate agent on it as well via email after I call them with just an update. So here's what happens most of the time. Okay, most of the time I call and I get in touch with them, and it's something like, oh no, I was just applying for a home equity line of credit, right? Or, oh yeah, I was just looking at getting a new car loan. That's most of the triggers that I get from a credit inquiry standpoint. Although the follow-up is what's key, because it shows that you have the intelligence to your agents of, you know, what your customer behavior is, and that you're looping them in so that they don't ever miss an opportunity, right? So I've generated 2 listings over the last 90 days from credit trigger inquiries. Okay, someone wasn't even getting pre-approved with me, by the way. They were looking at getting a home equity line of credit with their local credit union all 3 times. And they were looking at what could they do to purchase a home if they found one they wanted out of state for all 3 of them. And then they were going to think about selling their home after. Well, I got to loop in those realtors every single time. Hey, this borrower, just talk to them. I'm going to include you on the email. They're thinking about selling their house, but they're going to look for something first out of state. I told them that you could get them a great referral to an agent out of state. That's a referral fee, by the way. And I looped you in so that you can have the conversation with them now about listing, and does it make sense right now, or does it make sense to wait? So creating those type of opportunities, I think, are extremely important for your agents.
All right. So let's just do a quick summary, guys. You know, the key to flipping the script is first of all, if you don't use your CRM all day, every day, you're not even going to have, you're not even in the game. You know, so it's never been more important that we have our database in the CRM. It's never been more important that we're getting our realtors to trust us and put their database in our CRM. I'll actually add that as number 2 here. Realtor, you know, adopt realtor databases. So that's a new way to add value. And then you got to call the database trigger alerts every day. Like, Jeremy, how important is it to do it quick? And to
You have to do it the day you get it. I
yeah.
mean,
or it's worthless. Like if
it's worthless if you wait.
with them.
Yeah, it's worthless if you wait. There's no point.
Okay. And then anything else you want to share when it comes to flipping the script with agents?
Yeah. So flipping the script with agents, right now there's 2 things that come to mind. Okay, number 1 for me is making sure I'm using real stories that are happening. And you guys remember, you can use my stories. It's real. It's not fake. It's a real story. So it doesn't even have to be yours. Using real stories with people right now with what the market shift means and how they need to protect their listings. I'll give you a great example. So a big talking point with my agents yesterday and today was that, hey, you guys, if you have listings right now and you get an offer that's anywhere near exactly close to what your seller wants, do not counter for a few $1,000s difference. And then I say, I want to tell you why. Here's a true story. So on Friday, we had a client who made an offer on a listing, okay, 40,000 under what the listing price was. That is 815,000, okay, is what they offered. And the seller came back and asked for $5,000 more counter. That borrower literally walked away. That walked away for the $5,000 counter. No counter back, said, I don't see how this can work. We're going to sit on the sideline. They had an opportunity to get into contract for, you know, the difference of $5,000, whereas now they are not in contract. That listing is still sitting. And what's probably going to happen is a price reduction greater than whatever that $5,000 was. So using like those type of stories with your agents, I think is very important. Now on the buy side, it's just as equally important of like, hey, let's go in with our best offer first and foremost. And let's make it very clear to the listing side that, hey, this is our highest and best offer, period. And so I just want to let you know that in advance. That way you don't come back and counter and they're going to walk away. Like that type of clarity and communication is extremely important, because that If a buying agent tells that to a listing agent and there are no offer, and I'm talking about properties with no offers on them. Yes, I still have some properties that have 2, 3, 4 offers on them, but it is dwindling by the day. Okay, it's dwindling by the day. So having that buyer agent have that conversation with the listing agent sets the tone and makes it very, very clear. And that listing agent then is going to have a very different conversation when they're presenting the only offer that is on the table. Okay, so we need to influence the buying agent. The buying agent needs to influence the listing agent. The listing agent influences their client. You can also directly influence the listing agent by sharing these type of stories with people of that it doesn't make sense to haggle over a few dollars, okay, when at the end of the day, someone could walk away and it could end up costing you tens of thousands of dollars more.
So let's review, guys. You got to use your CRM all day, every day. You've got to adopt databases, realtor databases. You've got to call your trigger alerts every day. You need to use real stories that help realtors protect listings. And you need to, and by the way, and I'm going to add another bullet point, you need to tell real stories about how you help realtors get offers accepted and how you get buyers clear about buying a home right now. So we'll add that data point. You need to be consistent with your annual reviews and use the TCA with everyone. Jeremy, I've got a jumpsuit, so I'm going to fast track through a few of these things. Guys, take a screenshot of this. This is all of the alerts that Sales Boomerang creates, and it maps each alert to the automated TCA that it creates for the consumer. I want to remind you guys, our goal here at Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang is to help you turn your database into like a search engine for loans. Like, oh, I want to get a loan. I go into my database and I search for everybody that I could lower their monthly payment by $200. I go into my database and I look for everyone that has X amount of tappable equity that could be either a move up or a cash out. I'm going to put a link down below when I'm not talking to all of Jeremy's trigger alert scripts to check that out in just a few minutes. Jeremy, let's close out and just spend a few minutes on this, because everything that you and I are talking about and that we're sharing right now from stage, if there isn't weekly practice and weekly training, people are going to get bitter. They're not going to get better. And so, what messaging do you have to anyone in the room? Well, and let's give it to them, whether they're a branch manager and they could be putting on a weekly meeting, or they coach loan officers and they could be doing this. But let's also give some best practices to anyone that like, hey, if you're a loan officer, you can get training. In fact, guys, we have a playlist in our Facebook group called Weekly Sales Meetings. And I'll guarantee you, even though that meeting Jeremy did in April 12th was April 12th, you can see that I have Be the Buffalo with Hunter Marquardt. There's just a resource. And regardless of the date of the meeting, you can go and use those and go, oh, here's a playbook for a sales meeting. But Jeremy, what leadership do you bring to everyone in the room right now and to everyone watching us around getting better, not bitter, by weekly training?
Yep. So I do multiple different accountability groups with loan officers and realtors on a weekly basis. And then every other week, we have a much larger scale meeting, right, where we're going over a topic, sharing best practices, and going through successes and wins of everyone. And I love to go. So if you're a manager listening to this, like, get together with your group consistently and ask for successes and ask for challenges and get people to share, because you're creating a playbook right there. Like Dave did it interviewing me today. I watched you and I was just smiling on the inside. I'm like, I say something, he types it out. Boom, he's got another thing to talk about and train people, etc. So I'm using a lot of what other people are teaching me as well, my loan officers. And if you're a one man, one woman shop, create like a meeting once a week with a few of your colleagues. This isn't something that you have to be part of a giant group in order to do and execute, but getting peer feedback and peer challenges and successes is really going to help you moving forward, and so that you can come up with better items outside of the fact that Mortgage Coach has unbelievably training videos. We should be watching at least one a week that the Mortgage Coach community provides. But I would just say there is no reason to get bitter, because bitter only leads to bitter. Bitter doesn't ever lead to better. Just focus on what the opportunities are right now and then execute as fast as you can. Don't wait, just execute. Do a total cost analysis, do a sell or buy down video, reach out to people and say, hey, I can save you $200 a month. Did you know if you sold your home and bought a new one, you could you could buy $1 million house instead of a $400,000 house that you live in? Create those different scenarios for people right away, and you won't be bitter ever because you're going to be so busy helping people on a daily basis.
All right, guys, let's review this real quick. And then if you have questions, put them down below. But here's the playbook from Jeremy, and confirm you see my screen. Keys to getting better. First of all, you got to measure what matters most.
Yep.
Like, how many leads are we getting? What is our conversion? What is our profitability? And then, find the loan officers that got the most leads. What are you doing? Find the loan officer that had the best conversion. What are you doing? Find the loan officer that had the biggest improvement in profitability and is getting rate shopped, and celebrate it. You got to get your team to share their problems, their challenges, and their success stories, and then train weekly on today's most important best practices to improve conversion and profitability. And remember, guys, you got to watch a mortgage coach video weekly. And that is the formula for getting better in this market. Because, guys, it's changing. We're talking about strategies working today. We didn't even get to the seller buy down, and what a great strategy that is. When I interviewed Jay Kroll, one of the things he's doing differently right now is he's saying, I used to only go up to 1.5 or 2 points, but now I'm showing 2.5. So I'm always going 0 to like 1 to 2 to 2.5. So there's always a 0 points to 2.5 point spread, because you know what's out there, guys? Big banks, credit unions. And you know what? They got better rates. And he's also saying that, there's more arms, so I'm having to use and show options so I can say, hey, this is what they were. Yeah, this is what that arm is, but this is what I can get. And this is what it might look like a year from now. So guys, we are in a very dynamic market. I think Jeremy's words are, this is a complex and fast moving market. So if you lead loan officers, first of all, measuring loans closed and production, it's not a happy thing. So if we can put the cheese on who's got the best conversion, celebrate that. Who had the least price exceptions and killed it, celebrate that. Who got the most leads, celebrate that. That's what time it is. Jeremy, any closing thoughts, brother?
No, man, I really appreciate you having me. Don't let good prices go to waste. We have a lot to talk about. We always search our brains for, like, I don't know what I'm going to talk about today or this week, or when you're talking to people. That should not be a thought you have right now. There is a ton to talk about. So just be quick in talking about it so that they don't find the information somewhere else.
All right, everybody. Hopefully you appreciate this special session from Jeremy and myself. It's an exciting time in the marketplace. That's the other thing. Like, I know personally, I was born for markets like this. This is a mortgage coach market. This is exciting. And I don't have any other track going. So I hope you guys join me, and let's get some market share. Let's have some fun, and let's get through this. Take care, y'all.
See ya. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Jeremy.